In case you missed it, in Cleveland, Texas, 4 days ago, there was a mass shooting. And the story is, and this is pretty awful, apparently it's commonplace in parts of Texas, and certainly that part, for people to go shoot their guns off on a Friday night to blow off some steam, right? Because they've got big properties, no one's out there. So, yahoos and cowboys and guns, people shooting off their guns on Friday night. Woohoo! Well, apparently, at this one property next door lived like a couple of families living together, but there was a small baby in the house. So the neighbors went next door to ask the gentleman if he could, because it was late in the evening, if he could stop firing his guns because they were trying to, let get the baby to sleep and let the baby sleep. And that appeared to be the end of the conversation. They went back home. Well, the next thing you know, this man with his rifle goes to the neighbor's house that were trying to ask him to stop shooting, enters their house, and then proceeds to kill 5 people, including a 9-year-old boy who's trying to protect his mother in their living room. So literally shot up his neighbors, 5 of his neighbors, shot him dead just because they were asking him to stop shooting late at night so the baby could sleep. Yeah, this is the state of affairs we're in these days. So as these things go, the story gets worse because for 4 days he literally poof disappeared, vanished like a ghost into the ethers. And because he's a Mexican national, there was the possibility that he had gone back to Mexico. I mean, in 4 days you can cover a lot of territory, especially if you steal a car or something like that, or carjack somebody, or anyway, it's 4 days and you're that close to Mexico. It's real easy to find your way to Mexico, right? Like it's being in Iowa, it's real easy to get to Canada. And the FBI and the police, they had no leads. Like literally, he could have been anywhere. And if you haven't seen Texas on a map, go look at Texas on a map. That's a big state. That's a lot of territory to cover. So 4 days can get you in a lot of different directions: north, south, east, west. Up, down, pick one. So they put out. Somebody put out a $50,000 award that Ghoul Governor Greg Abbott, in a show of conciliation and faux concern, added another $20,000 to the reward. Now Greg Abbott is also the one who made it a point when these notifications of these killings came out to specifically say that they were illegal immigrants that were getting shot. Like this has anything to do with the fact that guns are and gun use is out of control in this state and the country. But making it a point to really hammer in, zone in on that illegal immigrant status was really important to him. Jerk. Anyway, and we know how Greg Abbott feels about anybody who's not, looks like a family member of his. Anyway, Greg Abbott got a lot of blowback for that, and then of course next in his charitable way, backtracked on the statement, and then of course put up $20,000 additional dollars. And mind you, he was wrong. At least one of those victims was a legal resident of the United States. So 4 days with a crazed gunman at large. Literally, he shot people for no good reason other than they asked him to stop shooting his guns late at night so a baby could sleep. And that was good enough reason for him to murder them. Okay? And he's now at large. So, of course, you can imagine what kind of panic everybody in Texas, especially around Cleveland, Texas, is in. Oh, my Lord. So here's what I did. So the thing about it is, with astrology, you can do Horary astrology, you can do synastry or relationship astrology, you can do predictive astrology like solar returns. There's a lot of different things you can do with astrology, which is why we love it so much. But astrology is not easy. Astrology is not easy. Being an astrologer is not easy unless you're like the, good time Charlie astrologer that, panders to the lowest common denominator and the lowest level of thinking. Then everybody loves you. Because people with half a brain and any background in education and sciences don't want to believe in astrology. They struggle with it because we don't have any clear explanations for it yet. And for some of them, it's because they don't want their dirt discovered. It's like, let's not kid ourselves here. They've got stuff to hide, and they don't want you finding out about it and telling anybody. That's why those don't like psychics. You can tell who's got the most secrets to hide by how passionately, adamantly, like cynically disbelieving they are in astrology and psychics. Like if they're really like irrational, like that's just bunk, it's because they got stuff to hide, and they're afraid it's going to get found out. Anyway. So I ran a Horary chart. Now the thing with Horary charts is, they're complicated. They've got very strict rules. Horary rules do not apply to other types of chart interpretation. It's like taking the engine from a Maserati and trying to put into a Ford Pinto. Like these two things don't go together, even though they're both car engines and they both are in cars. One does not belong to the other. It's not going to run properly, right? If it runs at all. So one of the big questions in Horary is, can we do a Horary for a question about things that do not connect to us personally, right? Can I ask about, for instance, me here on the East Coast, ask about a fugitive gunman on the loose and where he is? Can I locate him using Horary astrology, even though I personally don't have any connection to this? Literally, because I'm like on the coast and he's in Texas. So, but fear not, dear viewer, I went ahead and did it. So now I've done Hararis before, and I'm not 100% perfect, but I'm getting better at it. The problem with Horary, just so you know, when you're trying to locate things, especially missing people, is it won't give you street addresses, it will not give you house numbers, and it will not give you geographical map coordinates, unfortunately. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? Just, boop, okay, 237 degrees west by 45. It doesn't do that. So being able to read the information that you do get becomes really a tremendously difficult and valuable skill once you've mastered it, right? So you can literally get the colors of the room, if there are multiple people in it. There's all sorts of weird little details you can get, but it won't give you map coordinates. Oh my gosh. So I ran the chart. Now, I've done Horary charts before, and I've posted them in the community tab. I don't know if the community tab keeps those posts or not, but I've done them in the community tab, and I've had fair success with them. There was a case with a boy who had fallen down a well in Egypt, and they weren't sure if they were going to get him out. I did Horary for that and got like almost all of it, real accurate details about how this was going to play out. I'm very pleased with myself. I also have done Horary. Here's another one. I did a Horary for someone I didn't know, is a missing elderly man in Maryland, and it was posted on Twitter. Like it was APB, everybody kind of taking a look for my grandfather sort of thing. And I did a Horary for that, and I posted the results online. And I'm going to tell you now, this is why I generally don't do Horaries for the general public anymore, unless there's some type of, well, we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, did the thing, and I was like, he's heading in this direction. It looks like there's a younger woman with him, possibly who has a kid or had a kid. And it looks like he's trying to go home, right? And he'll be found, blah, 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 but maybe not in the same condition he left in, and this, that, and the other thing. And that was it, real short and sweet, right? And the next thing I know, I get this hateful response from some random stranger on Twitter who apparently knew the family or something, I don't know. And they're like, oh, you parasite, you charlatan, how dare you take advantage of people's hurt feelings and that. Listen, I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't asking for anything. I was just putting it on public record that this is what I saw, because when you put stuff out on Twitter or Facebook somewhere, like especially Twitter, because you can't edit stuff, right? You're posting it as a documentation or a record of what you actually said. So you can't go back in time and edit it, and change the thing so that it fits the actual outcome to make yourself look good, right? Which is what I like, because if you're not willing to be wrong publicly about these things, then you're not to be trusted. People can be wrong. People are wrong about things. But if you're literally only posting your successes and nobody ever sees where you've gotten things wrong, because you won't take that risk, right, with horoscope predictions and everything else, or you do this real vague general sort of could fit one size fits all sort of prediction. It's difficult. And when you're dealing with things like missing people, right, things that like you really need to be on your game, because this is not a joke, right? This is not entertainment. It's very important that you operate with a lot of integrity. So this is not the place to let your ego take the driver's seat and roll. So I post my stuff publicly because I could be wrong. And the other thing is I want to keep a record of it posted publicly, right? That can't be edited, so that I can go back and see what I did and didn't get. Because, what is the sound of a tree falling in the forest if no one can hear it? So I got abused online by a complete stranger because she was just convinced that I was some parasite con artist who was trying to take advantage of the family's grief and blah, 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 and blah, blah. Literally, I hadn't asked for anything, didn't want anything. I was just posting my stuff, connect to the original tweet so I could find it. Well, my friends, the older man was found. He was, in fact, found. He was found because he had dementia or Alzheimer's. He was found in his car, like in the direction that I said it was. And I think it was east, like due east. He was heading. And he was, in fact, heading back to what he remembered or where he used to live before he got taken to the daughter's house or the nursing home, wherever he was. So he was literally heading back to his old home. He was found in the car. I believe he was dead when they found him, right? And there's no indication of whether there was a woman in the car with him or not, but it's entirely possible. We don't know. He may have picked somebody up along the way, like a hitchhiker. Um, so, and a couple of other things, right? So, so I was right. I was right. The things that I did get, I was right about. The things that we couldn't confirm, we don't know if I was right or wrong because it was never confirmed. So, but for this, I got abuse. I got lots of abuse from complete strangers before the man was ever found. I mean, listen, if I put it up there, I was completely wrong, and I like gave people hope they shouldn't have. Then maybe that would be a good reason to like get upset with me. But you hadn't even found the man yet, and you're beating me up, and I ended up being right. So for this reason, I don't typically do a lot of Hararis for missing people unless I'm specifically asked, and I've got a missing persons report because I need to know that you are the family member who's looking for them, and B, this is an actual missing person, not somebody who just doesn't want to talk to you. So, but every now and then, these cases come up like the fugitive in Texas where there's a big reward, right? It's like, okay, well, let's have some fun. And I throw my hat in the ring for a couple of reasons. One, because if I'm right and I can actually get compensated for this, that's awesome because I got house repairs to need to do. But the other, more important than that, is that when I throw my hat into the ring with every other lunatic, psychic, would-be astrologer, out there, and mystic that's sending in their, information about where the person might be, I'm less likely to get abused because there's too many wackadoodles surrounding me to just abuse me. Like they're just writing us all off. But the other thing too is if they take it seriously and they actually at least consider it with limited information I can get. That's pretty important, right? So 4 days, we have no idea where this man is, and he's in Texas, which is huge. Jesus, he could be literally north, south, east, west, taking a private plane. He could be in Mexico. He could be, California. We don't know where this guy is. 4 days is a lot of time to have a crazy person with a gun running around. So they did find him. And here, let me read to you from one of the articles, and I'll post a link down below so you can read it too. And oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, the gun he used to shoot his neighbors with, it was an AR-15, an assault rifle. Because, we need more of that floating around. So here's an article from 2 days ago. Texas gunman still at large. Authorities had 0 leads, right? And police recovered the gun. Contacted friends. Yeah, they never found him. Anyway, so where they did find him was, I'll find it later. Where they did find him was west. The shooting occurred in Cleveland, Texas. They found him in Cut and Shoot, Texas. I know, right? Now, the only town between Cleveland and Cut and Shoot is a little tiny town, population 24, literally it's practically ghost town, called Security, Texas. So I don't even think, like 24 people in the entire town, I'm sure I wouldn't have stopped there. But it literally, Cut and Shoot, Texas is only 16 miles from Cleveland, Texas, where the shooting happened. But there are conflicting reports because there's another report from another agency that said he was caught in Conroe, Texas, which is just after Cut and Shoot, and that's about 20 miles out. But I'm pretty sure it's Cut and Shoot, Texas, where he was found. And he was found hiding under a pile of laundry in a closet. Now, here's what I got and where I was right, and here's also where I have a favor to ask you guys if you can get any information or you know somebody who lives out there. So here's what I got about his location when I did the Horary. And that is, and I did this yesterday. He was found last night, but I did this the day before. The fugitive shooter is within a local area, and I'm going to say 16 miles is considered a local area, right? Immediate neighborhood or the next one nearby. Now, I don't think they really have neighborhoods out in Conroe, Texas, or what is it, wherever he was. But next town over, next neighborhood over, same thing. So 16 miles, literally, in where I'm at, 16 miles does put you in the next neighborhood, or township over. Like, it's practically the same thing, neighborhoods and townships. But anyway, He's in a family home. He's in a family home near a lower grade school, daycare, elementary school age facility. He's high up and has a clear visibility line around his location, like an attic or an upper floor. Possible child with special needs in residence. So here's the things we don't have confirmed from this. We don't know if there was a lower grade school or child focused facility nearby because they won't give us any information about the location of the home where it was found, obviously because the family wants their own privacy, right? High up, clear visibility, attic or upper floor. We don't know how many stories the house is. We know nothing about the actual physical house he was found in, other than they had a closet with laundry in it. There was a possible child with special needs in residence. Again, not confirmed. Look west by south or south by west for direction. He was in fact found west Cleveland. He was found west of Cleveland, Texas. Now, how much south, west and south that is, we don't know because we don't know the physical location of the actual shooting, the street address, compared to the street address where he was found. So it's entirely possible he was west by south, but he was definitely west. So we got that. And again, more information that we can't confirm yet. Possible home with farm animals on it or nut crops. It's a multi-purpose residence, not just for people sleeping and eating. That hasn't been confirmed. We don't have that information. He is not with people he knows. That we know. He or they are bilingual and within a few miles. So he's probably bilingual. If he's Mexican living in Texas, you have to at least speak some English to work. We don't know if the family's bilingual, but there's a real strong possibility that they are because it's Texas. And within a few miles. So a few miles, again, the problem with Horary is it doesn't give you geographical map coordinates, and it also is, or at least I'm not good at it yet, determining actual mileage. But a few miles, 16 miles is not that far. It's not that far. Okay, so I could be wrong, but if this is accurate, you're going to have to do door-to-door wellness checks or something similar because he's comfortable enough that he can wait this out for a good while. Which, makes sense if he's in a family home that's occupied. The house was occupied with people. There was laundry in it. That means people were living there. Colors of the residence could be white and blue or with blue splotches. Look for multiple colors on the home. Again, we don't know because we have no information about the house he was found in. Broken door on the side of the house. New addition to the house, an awning or a screen porch. Again, that's not confirmed because we don't know anything about the house. Let's see. And that's it. So we got a lot of information right. Unfortunately, we don't have like specific pinpoint coordinates, which would have been even more amazing and helpful, right? But within 24 hours of that post going up, somebody called in apparently with a tip and they found him. So I'm hoping that at some point they give us the rest of the information about the description of the house or the area around the house or something so we can confirm some of the other information about this Horary. They might not. If you know somebody who lives in that area and is familiar with Cut and Shoot, Texas, and knows about the house, I don't need the street address, but if you can confirm for me any information about the condition or residence of the house, and if there's any schools nearby for smaller children like daycares, elementary schools, you can send it to me by email because I really like confirmation of this. Obviously, Governor Greg Abbott will never send me a reward. Bastard. So that's it. So here's the thing with Horary. So sometimes they say that you can only do the Horary if it's personally deeply meaningful to you. Other times they say that you can do it if it has nothing to do with you. I guess it depends on luck of the draw and your karma and what your connection you're supposed to have to these cases. Again, I would say that if you're going to practice Horary, it's extremely difficult and you have to be willing to be wrong. And please, for the love of God, don't do like these Facebook astrologers do in the Horary groups. Dear Lord, I've never seen such a bunch of negative Nellies in my life. Oh my God. Like everything is always no, gloom, doom, like they're not optimistic at all. And this is not something people want to hear either, right? So if you're going to do Horary, here's the thing. One, there's a lot of rules and you got to learn them. You got to learn them well and you have to abide by them. This is not a stretch and fit Plato chart like a natal chart. Ooh, you're a Gemini, of course, blah, blah, blah. Like you can't do that. This is very cut, dry, and exact, okay? It's very unforgiving. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to be willing to be wrong because you're going to be wrong sometimes. Sometimes you're going to be completely wrong. I did a chart and sometimes you're never going to know. Like I did a chart for a little girl, an Afghani girl who was abducted in Texas. What is with Texas, right? She was abducted in Texas, literally snatched in broad daylight out of an apartment complex when she was surrounded by kids. They couldn't find her, and they've never found her. And when I did the Horary, the information that I got about that little girl is that it was a woman and a child with a puppy, right? That went onto the apartment complex grounds where the kids were, because kids can't resist puppies, right? And the woman apparently, I think, if I'm reading this correctly, put a fentanyl patch or some type of like medical drug patch on the child to sedate her. And then like as she was, getting all wobbly, like picked her up, threw her over her shoulder, gave the puppy to the boy, and they, walked off to her car and left. And it makes sense because broad daylight, people, children, families, ring cameras, all this sort of stuff. Like if you were a man abducting a child, like snatching them out of broad daylight, people are going to notice there's something odd here. But a woman carrying a little girl, nobody's going to think anything twice. Literally not going to think twice about it. And children can't resist puppies, so all you have to do is show up with a small puppy, and people are going to run to you, right? Especially the kids. And there's some footage on the cameras where you could see the kids like run out of the view of the camera as a group because something clearly excited them. They wanted to go see what it was, and they all kind of came back, drifted back. But when they drifted back, the little girl was missing. So, and that's why I said I'm positive it was a woman with a puppy, and I think she had another kid with her, one of her kids. So there was that, and also, oh my God, the child was being moved from house to house. There was at least one wealthy person involved. Literally this went on for months. And a week later, there was this storage unit that like burned up suddenly mysteriously, like, in a row of 5 storage units, that burnt down with it. There was nothing ever found in it. I'm guaranteeing you that storage unit was used for child pornography. And they moved all their camera equipment out of there and burned that shit down so there was no DNA to be found. Anyway, so this and nothing directions I got, and basically what I got was that this child had been at one point like she was done. It was too late. She was gone, and they had taken her up. So these I guess there's hills or mountains in West Texas. So it was like on a hilltop, a scrubby hilltop, and if you look at the top of it, look across, you could see signage, right? Like signage, billboards and stuff from the top, but it's all scrub and scrub trees and power lines, and there was a defunct generator that was no longer in use because apparently they run utilities across the top of these hills or these mountains, whatever these things are. But there was a generator or something that was no longer being used by a utility company. And whoever this person is that took her up there, like you have to know the area. You're not going to wander around accidentally up top of these things. Apparently worked for that utility company at some point. So he knew where this was, and he knew that generator thing, that box, was not being used anymore. And she was buried in a duffel bag with lime, like next to that. So yeah, oh my God, I was just obsessed with this case. This poor girl, dear God. They never found her. And I'm not, if I'm reading these charts correctly, I'm not completely convinced that there are a couple people in the police force around that area where the child disappears that wasn't involved in this. And also there were some other people I'm not going to get into because I don't want to get sued for libel or slander. That were possibly connected to this and knew a lot more than they were admitting to. They were only a town over, right? And apparently it's a small town, everybody knows each other. The guy's really well known, very well known, very well respected, much loved, has a fucking, I'm going to cut that out, has an arsenal of weapons on his property, and he's a veterinarian. And who else would have access to tranquilizers, animal tranquilizers, and certainly getting prescriptions for patches for tranquilizers that you can put on children. So we don't know if I was right or wrong, and that was quite the goose chase. The girl was never found. That was really, really very painfully sad. So sometimes you don't get it. Sometimes you just don't get it, or sometimes you get it, and I think maybe you may have accidentally tipped off the people who are involved. So that's the problem, of course, dealing with corrupt law enforcement, corrupt Supreme Courts, is that if they're in on the hustle, like you may end up accidentally giving the bad guys the information they need to cover their own tracks. So, but we don't know, so that's all speculation. So that's my Horary story for today. So, yay team, they caught the man, and he was where at least parts of it were confirmed to be what I saw in the chart. Other parts have not been confirmed, so if you know anybody who's from that area that can give you that information, if you can tell me, like put it in the comments or send it to me by email if they don't want it out in the open, like that would be great too. I'd like confirmation about that as well. And that's it. So enjoy astrology, rock on, live good lives, and I'm telling you, know who your senators and governors and House reps and district reps are right now and how they're voting on gun control laws. It's literally people are getting shot for pulling up in the wrong driveway, knocking on doors to look for their little brothers, literally going next door to ask their neighbor, could they just stop shooting so late at night so the baby can sleep, right? And you're not even safe in your own home because you're not getting shot in his property. He's coming to your house and shooting you. There's just people are getting shot for all the wrong reasons now, and it's just out of control. Gun control, gun control, gun control. Knowing and being able to predict the future does not mean a damn thing. It has no value if you cannot change the future. So there you go. Talk to you guys later.